In any life, we have highs and lows, light and dark, wins and losses. What happens when we encounter that moment in time when what happens next could change everything? Join us as we step into another person's inspirational moment and see how we can connect their experience to ours. This is Greg Stevens, and you're listening to A Shot of Inspiration. Welcome to this week of A Shot of Inspiration. This week's guest is one of my favorites. His name is Darden Smith. He is a musician here in Austin. And a little background on my relationship with Darden. When I first came to Austin, I got to see Darden at I think it's the Cactus Room on UT campus, and really enjoyed him. Would catch him at different shows. And then I have another friend who did the podcast with me, Michael Ramos, is good friends with him. And Michael used to have a place out by the lake, and he would have musicians come out there. And I was the only person that didn't have a instrument that I could actually go out there and watch. So I'd never bothered Darden. I just loved his talent. And then years later, I'm a consultant moving around the country, and I run into Darden at the DFW airport. He had his guitar, and I was still a little intimidated, but I went up to him and said, "Hey, you're Darden Smith, right?" He said, "Oh yeah." I said, "I'm friends with Michael Ramos." And we just fell into a great conversation, sat next to each other on the way back. And then a couple weeks later, I was in DFW airport again, coming back, and there's Darden. And we just started seeing each other randomly in different airports throughout the country. And then COVID hit, and Darden and I somehow talked to each other. We talked about this idea of working together years ago, but nothing ever happened. And after COVID, I started talking to Darden a little, and then one thing led to another, and that's how we're involved with Darden now. He's got a video up on our website, alignment-resources.com. You can see what Darden does in going in and working with teams and creating these great songs that a team creates. It's the lead into a team building. And he does an amazing job. We did it with our organization to see how it was, and also get it on video so we could get it out there and promote him. I've always found Darden inspirational. He's done a lot of different work. I just want to dive in. Darden, welcome to A Shot of Inspiration. Thanks for saying yes and being on the show with us. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. I guess the big question I want to know is, are you still intimidated by me?
Not at all.
Well, then I've lost my groove, man. I mean, that's the whole point, you know?
You're so easy to connect with. That's great. No, you're so easy to connect with. I love being around you. It's a great energy, and I love what you do. First off, just share with people a little about you, what you've done with. I think we've worked with wounded warriors and things like that. I'd like to hear everything you've done.
Well, I've been writing songs since I was 10, so that's like 50 years of songwriting. And then I put out a whole bunch of records. I just released my 16th album. Been making a living as a musician, songwriter for over 35 years. So I've been doing that a long time. Had, various successes and peaks and valleys and all that stuff. And then I began to work with people around a little over 20 years ago. I started trying to use songwriting, try to find a different way to use songwriting in the world. And that is by writing songs with people that don't write songs. So collaborating and helping them get their story out. The songwriting process is kind of like not many people do it, actually. It's a very kind of weird, a lot of people write songs, but most people haven't. So when you come in to write a song with them, they're kind of like stunned by the fact that they're sitting there writing a song. And in the process, they wind up telling you truths. They tell you the secrets, the truths, the fears, the joys of their lives. And my job is to sit there and sort of distill the information that they're giving me and put it into a song. So in that, I've worked with all kinds of different groups. I started the work with homeless teenagers in Newark, New Jersey, through a place called the Covenant House. Through that, I did conflict resolution work with Israeli-Palestinian groups and gangs. I've done companies, some conflict resolution inside of companies, getting people to actually say what they mean, and we collaborate on a song. And the point of that is, if you can write a song together, do you think you could talk together? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
and from that, I embarked on this 10-year journey of working with, started an organization called Songwriting with Soldiers, started with a friend of mine. And so that we worked with both active duty and veteran individuals and families and groups, helping them put the stories of both combat and returning home, which is often more difficult than combat, into songs. And so that group, you know, I was affiliated with them for about 8.5 years. They're still going. I sort of split off. And during the pandemic, I started doing this work with frontline healthcare workers, helping them tell the story of the COVID experience,
Right.
as well as working with companies, just helping people tell their story. That's a big part of what I do now, is helping these groups tell their story. If they have a problem, if they have a meeting, they've come together, what is the point, and what is the real issue that you're both dealing with and wanting to put out into the world? So turning that into songs so that's really what I do. I love it. I just love writing songs. And everyone has a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has a story. So
Yeah, you're really good at it. When we did the program, a lot of different things showed up for me as I went through that process with you. I remember it really is a great team building effort also to see what shows up for you. I remember I'd say something, I wasn't sure if you'd heard it, and I was like, well, do I need to say it again because he's working over here with someone? And then I'd say it and you probably not take it, or you would. It was just interesting to watch what I was doing in the process, doubting myself. Should I speak up? One of the things I found is how you do anything is how you do everything. Do I second guess myself in that process? But also seeing how you handled it. We didn't know what to do, but you were asking questions. I loved how you funneled the questions, because you called me as being the leader of the organization the day before. We had a nice conversation, but I loved how your questions funneled down, and it funneled down to one thing. You said, what's one thing your organization's about? And it came as breakthrough. You said, that's it. And the next
Right.
day you had some little tune. You kind of told everyone about our conversation. And then he just started going through the group and engaging with people, asking questions. And the process only took about 70 minutes, but we were all grateful for the song. But I didn't realize what would happen the next day. What Darden does is he goes away and he records the song and he sends you the lyrics. And when you hear it again, you start to remember that moment of who added what line to the song. And now I've heard different lines of different songs that someone fed, and I start to say, oh, that's what Matt did here. That's what Emily did here. It's just really amazing. It really brings that moment of that teamwork back together over and over. Have you heard that from other people as well?
Yes, well, that's what I experienced in my life too, because songs are time machines. And so when you sit down, the magic thing is when you sit down and do this with a group, they hear themselves say things, they hear other people say things, they hear the things that they've been thinking said by other people, and all this goes in. And so it works on your subliminal mind in a way, or your unconscious mind as much as your conscious mind. And then when you listen to the song again, no matter where you are or how long it's been, it'll take you back to the moment of writing the song. I call it sonic barn building, because people often won't remember the project that they've done. They'll remember the making of the project. The reason I call it sonic barn building is that you may be working with someone in a group. I mean, you may or may not know them. They may bug you. You may love them. You may kind of not get along with them that well, but you're in this collaboration exercise. And I'm the guy who's saying, okay, put that, we got to get this wall lean up here, da, da, da. And you find that you need those other people.
Yeah.
Even if you don't maybe connect with them on a daily basis, there's still a purpose for you being with them. And when you hear that, you actually hear people say things that maybe you didn't know that they were so poetic, or you didn't know they had this feeling. You didn't know that they were hurting. You didn't know that they were joyful. And so the song it's not a trick. It's more like it's an exercise that we are going to write a song. But in the process of this song, it's the revelations that come about. It's the self-awareness and the awareness of other people. That's the point. The point is not to go, I mean, we're going to write a song, but the point is not the song. The point is the learning that happens both before you write this, while you're writing the song, right before you write the song, the learning starts happening while you're writing the song. And then afterwards, so the debrief of the songwriting process is very important. I find it's just a fascinating experience. It's a fascinating way to use my skills this way. Most people think if you write songs and you're trying to get on the radio. Well, I've already done that and it's fun, it's great. But I just find this other stuff to be very, very interesting. So I can do it both. But it's basically bringing who I am and what I am, what I do, to a new arena.
And what I saw was it was a connection piece. Now, I have an ability to connect quickly with people. I see that in you as well. What I learned through the song, you kind of give people an insight of how to connect. When people ask me, how do you connect so quickly? Part of it is how much you reveal of yourself. And when you get into that conversation, you just bring it out of people of how you connect with them. So I thought it was brilliant. I think that was the energy and the insights that you brought. Also, the questions, they really make you think. And they also make you think about, why are we here? What are we doing this?
Greg, what we do is kind of interesting for a little while. Why we do it is a whole conversation.
Yeah,
It's like what you do, like, it's funny. I came upon, like, I'm not trained in, I'm not a therapist, I'm not this thing. I just noticed on airplanes, I'd be on the plane and the guy sitting next to you, if you ask them what they do, it's one sentence. If you ask them why they do it, they'll take up the whole flight, and it's also, then you get into people's stories. So if someone says something in one of these sessions about just any kind of answer, all you have to ask them is, well, why? And why is that so? And that opens up the new door, and the new door opens up to another door and another door. And pretty soon they get down and they use simple language. People, when they talk about the high impact moments of their life or their work or whatever, they use simple language. I think there's only 600 or 800 words that we use all the time. That it's really a pretty small set. That's the building blocks of songs. And so you have to ask questions to get them to break down, to get through their thinking mind into their sort of not thinking mind, and just the core essence of what the issue is. And sometimes you have to keep poking at them a little bit to almost irritate them.
Right.
You almost irritate them. They speak the truth. They speak the truth in a really simple way, almost like, I'm going to make it so simple that I'm going to get you to shut up, get me to shut up. And that's usually the magic line.
Well, you just said something, the high impact moments of your life. What are some of those inspirational, high impact moments of your life, your career, your relationships, maybe the work you've done, stories along the way? What were some of your high impact?
I think every day I have a high impact moment. That's the goal, is to every day have something that moves me. I'm an artist and a musician, artist, and my raw material is my life. I used to write fiction songs when I was a young man. And then when I did to be 30, and life gets weird when you get to be 30. It's weird and expensive. And that's when I thought, like, oh man, if I just look at my own life, that's where all the magic is. And so every day I try to find something. Now there's always, after we get off this call today, I'm going to sing at a memorial service. Okay. I'm going to sing a song I wrote with a man, a guy named Tom. And I was invited in there through an organization called Swan Songs. They operate here in Austin. They bring music to people who are in hospitals and often, dying when they're in the hospice care or whatever. Tom had ALS.
Oh, wow.
And he was a veteran. And so my friend Christine Albert runs Swan Songs. So she said, oh, maybe we should get Darden. And he wanted to write a song to his wife and his son. So I came in and I wrote this song. So here's this guy. He is in bed. So I'm asking him questions. It was in some ways, it was one of the best songwriting collaborations I've ever had, because my co-writer could not speak. It was fantastic. So I didn't have to worry about him going on and on. That was for sure. But he spoke he had a screen, and it was retina control.
Hmm.
So he would focus on letters and it would pop up words. And that's how we wrote the song. I would ask him questions. Like I asked him, what does your family mean to you? And he just typed out everything. And I was like, okay, well, that's our song titles, My Everything. But it was this amazing experience, and so I spent, and this was back in 2017. I wrote this song with this guy. He finally passed away last week. So I've been thinking about this okay, so I don't know this guy. I don't know his family. I just show up and I'm going to write this song. And now I have this connection with this guy and his family where they've asked me to come and sing at his memorial service. And I'm going to sing, and we have this artifact, which is the song of this moment that we have. I haven't seen Tom since then. I haven't, it's like 5 years. So what is it that connected there? So I think what I love about this moment and this experience with Tom is that I'm not being something other than who I am. So I have some skill sets, but everybody has skill sets. Everybody has something.
Right.
So, and I happen to be extremely lucky, but I work hard. I make a living at my skill set. So I get to practice it a lot. But I bring myself to this moment. And in this moment, who I am just by being me, and I've been doing this for 50 years, has a massive impact on this man and his family and his son, who's now going to be 21. And I'm very not so inspired. Like I'm not, it's like I'm not inspired by me. I'm inspired by the fact of thinking that it's not a bright light moment. So this thing, there's nobody watching.
Right.
There's no applause. There's no money. Actually, either. There's no money. I didn't get paid. I did it because I know I have a skill that could be of service. So I'm inspired by service, and I'm inspired by people who do service. And Tom, he was a veteran, so he was an Air Force guy. He was the servant to his family, basically. He was the strong guy. And I thought a lot about how every day we have the possibility to have a high impact moment with a stranger.
Right.
It's actually pretty easy to have high impact moments when you're controlling them. Like when you're doing what you're good at, or doing not even that, when you kind of control the parameters, it's like you can kind of cultivate high impact moments. Yeah. But the really super high impact moment comes when you're interacting with a stranger or someone that you wouldn't normally see because you don't know what they need.
Right. Right.
But what you give them is you, and you don't know what the effect will be. Like, right. I don't know what the effect will be when I write a song with Tom. He may not dig it. Right. Well, I'm just there to do my job.
Right.
Does that make any sense at all? I'm inspired. Yeah. So I'm inspired by the things that happen during the normal course of your day and the beauty in that. And I'm inspired that it's there every day.
Right.
And that it's up to me to pay attention. It's because it's passing us by all the time. Right. It's just like flying by. It's like a river. Right. So it's up to me to have my radar up. Yeah. And noticing. And when you do that, the inspiration, it's like overwhelming almost. But you have to be authentic. You have to be real. You have to be yourself.
Right.
Like if I came in and I tried to be you, people would sniff it out so fast.
Exactly right. And what you're saying there, when you said that, Darden, I hear it's that river that flows, but it's that interaction with that.
You have to get in the river. You have to get in the river.
Yeah.
You can't look at looking at the river's cool.
Yeah.
But when you choose to actually get in the river or not even get in the river, you can interact with the river. You engage in some way.
Right.
If you constantly remain passive, because the river's going by right now, I'm focusing on you. Meanwhile, there's stuff going on out there. It's like, I could be engaging in that. I'm choosing to do this.
Well, that's one of the points you made at the end of our class at the beginning of the day. This wasn't in the world just because we got together, we created that. That's what happens every day, but we tend to forget about it because we're so focused on doing the next thing, get this handled and move on. Many times we don't see what we've actually put out there, produced, created in the world.
Magic. It's
It
magic.
really is.
It's magic. I mean, I just experienced this coming back from getting tacos. I came to a four-way stop. So getting through a four-way stop sign is an interaction with strangers. It's a massive collaboration.
It is.
And somebody ran the stop sign. So we all stopped. So three people interacted at the same time. To one guy, he's just like asleep, okay? But it was this moment where it could have gone the other way.
Right.
By reacting to, by getting in the river, we had now I'm able to have this conversation.
Right. And three of you had a common experience, and one sounded like he wanted to be heard.
Or he just wasn't paying attention.
Or he forgot about it.
Right. But anyway.
Well, let me ask you, as you've worked with veterans and things like that, what are some of the more inspirational? I'm sure every one of them probably has spoken to you. What are some of those that linger with you that it's like, wow, I'd like the audience to hear this?
Yeah, I wrote a song with a man in Colorado, and it was about coming home. It wasn't about combat, or he was in Vietnam. He came home. And it's called Life After the War. That's what it's called. And really powerful experience, telling his story and what it's like to build a life after the war when you're still carrying around these ghosts, and then helping other people do the same thing. So we write this song. It's transformative for him. He goes from walking on a cane. He's literally, when he comes into the songwriting session, he's walking on a cane. And during the course of the song, he kind of sits up straight. When people tell their truth and they're heard, it has a physiological effect. By the end of it was a 3-day retreat. And by the end of the retreat, he's no longer using a cane. He's out pushing his wife on a swing. It's like, a lot of other things happened, but it was pretty amazing. So about 6 months later, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Maryland, and I'm doing a show. And I sing that song and I tell the story. After the show, this guy comes up to me. I'm at my merch table. I'm selling merch. And he's got tears streaming down his eyes. And he's about 75. He just had tears streaming down his face. And he just enveloped me in a hug. And it was what I call it the veteran hug, where it's just like there's a real context to it. And these guys, you hug them and it's like hugging a refrigerator. It's just solid rock, And he leans back and I don't know this guy. And he leans back and he goes, "That's my song. How did you know to play that? That's me." So what is that thing that he heard in that song? I don't know this guy. The song was written across the country. These guys don't know each other. It's this powerful thing of when you tell the truth. I say this in a lot of my songwriting sessions. If something means something to you, if you have a powerful truth and it's an experience, or often it's an experience, and you tell that and you put it in a form that can be heard. If it means something to you, there's probably somebody out there in the world that it's going to mean something to.
Right.
It's up to you to both know your story and to say your story in the way that you can. It's not up to you to control who hears it. Like, it's very powerful. Music is an amazing thing. Songwriters, musicians, we control the writing of our music. We can control the making of our music. Once we hit play or press send, it goes out into the world. Now it goes out into the world digitally. We have no control over who listens to it, who hears it, what they think, or how they react. Yeah. Or not even if they buy it, nobody buys it anymore. You have to believe that there's a reason to do these things, to tell these truths. There's a reason. Right. You have to believe in that reason.
Yeah. Well,
it's not up to you, but it's not up to you to control the results. It's up to you to control the doing. Right. And the deep craft that is involved, you just have to go down to the truth, get the truth, put the truth out there. If you put your truth out there, the risk is that you're going to make somebody's day. Yeah. That's the big risk. You are going to make somebody say, you're going to say exactly what they need to hear. And you don't know where they are. It goes back to the stranger thing. You don't know where they are. You open the door for somebody, you're just being nice. You don't know. They might be having the most terrible day ever. And that is the thing that they go, oh man, humanity actually is, we're going to make it, you know? You don't know.
Right.
So, but it's up to you to create your life so that you are able to do that as a matter of habit.
Yeah. I heard another master trainer I work with, he started his talk, and I've stolen it from him. His name's Scott Robley. He's another master trainer. He started out his talk with, more important than anything I say today is what you're going to hear.
Totally.
And take what resonates with you. Let's dive into that conversation, because and I've used that now. And sometimes I say one thing, but a person hears something completely different, but it's what they needed to hear in that moment. But it comes out to, like you were saying, Darden, I have to get out and do the doing. I've got to get in front of them. That thing's going to be out there to lay that message to whatever their ears need to hear at that point.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I wanted to find out, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience, something inspirational or final words about what you do or people that you've run into? What would you like to leave the audience?
You know, I had an interesting thing. It kind of relates back to all this thing we talked about. So my dad he's 90 years old and he still works every day. He goes to work. He works for a company called Jason's Deli. Okay. And he has done all kinds of different things with Jason's Deli, but now he's a delivery guy. He delivers sandwiches for Jason's Deli at 90 years old. He kills it in tips, baby, because he's 90. He's 90. So he makes he doubles everybody else's tips, you know? So he lives on tips. Anyway,
that's an inspiration alone.
It's fantastic. He works every day, you know, it's crazy. But I was in this music store in Houston. If you've ever been in a music store, it is like Snob City. It's like the most elitist snobs, tattoos, but they're snobs. And there's two prices in music stores. There's the normal price, and then there's the musician price. If they know who you are, you get this is a discount. It's a rolling thing. Anyway, everybody knows about it. Nobody says nobody says anything. And so I go I have to buy a guitar cable. It's in Houston at Rock and Robin. And I go and I go, here's the deal, you know, and the guy goes, okay, well, here's the price. And I go, okay, well, cool, you know, and he goes, I'm giving my credit card. He goes, what's your name? Darden Smith. And he goes, any relation to Granville Smith? That's my dad. And I go yeah, it's my dad. And he goes, yeah, I know your dad. I was like, and this guy, man, he's like super skinny, tattoos, earring, you know, I'm like, my dad, I can't imagine these guys hanging out, you know? And I go, oh, wow, how do you know my dad? And he goes, oh man, I work with your dad at Jason's Deli. I love your dad. He taught my brother and I, we were basically one step up from being homeless. And we got a job at the deli. Your dad taught me how to work. He taught me that I had to take care of myself in order to come to work. He taught me how to dress. He taught me how to do customer service. I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for your dad. I was like, wow, man, that's amazing. So the impact of my dad, who I don't know my dad. I mean, I know my dad, but I didn't know this about my dad. It's just him doing his thing, being who he is, and changed this guy's life, changed two people's lives. And this is just two people that I know about. So it's a real inspiration. But the biggest thing was, after the story, he gave me a different price. I got the musician price after he knew. So I got a hookup because of my dad.
Your dad.
Not because of me, not because of my career, because of my dad. So that was the real inspiration, is that, you never know who you're going to impact. And plus somebody might get a discount because of you.
Well, Darden, that is amazing. Great story to end on. And folks, we will see you in the future. Be bold, be courageous, and respectfully speak your truth. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of A Shot of Inspiration. If you like this or any of our other episodes, make sure you rate it and share it with a friend. This is Greg Stevens, and we look forward to being with you next time. Until then, be bold, be courageous, and respectfully speak your truth.